Hello, welcome back to That GD Show. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be back here on my home turf, That GD Show. It's so nice.
That's right. You were in doing some other show yesterday. What did you do yesterday, Genevieve?
Yeah, I was on the Atheist experience yesterday, which I am lost for words. I watched that show when I was in middle school and high school, and when I had first met all of these Christians that I'd really never met prior to that time in my life. And that was like my first little wave into, oh, I guess my atheism is weird and this is a thing. And then to come full circle, 16 years later and I'm on the show, I'm still just with weird.
Matt.
That's weird.
You did great, by the way. It was a great show. Matt actually let you talk a little bit, which was great. I know it can be a little intimidating with Matt because he's this presence that has been on that channel for so long, and he has every answer to every question that's ever come down the pike.
And, the funny thing, too, is, luckily this wasn't my first show with Matt, so it wasn't, completely foreign. He was on our show. If you haven't seen that show yet, everybody watching should watch it. It's a great one. But then I was also on the Hang Up, and so I'm glad that I had, a little bit of a segue into the Atheist experience, but it's still so easy to psych yourself out. So I'm glad that
Well, Matt's very generous. I see a lot of people commenting on those shows that Matt just talks too much. He doesn't. He has a lot of information. He has a lot of things to say, but he is generous with the screen time and with the mic time. And I've been on lots of shows with him, and I've never felt like I didn't have a chance to say anything. I've always felt like he gave me every opportunity to share in, and I saw that with you too. So that's very good. That's very good. Remind everyone what our call-in number is. This is a call-in show, and we want you to call in. So what's that number, Genevieve?
That number is 217-375-9933. So yeah, please give us a call. If you are like this person on TikTok who's blowing up my comments right now with a bunch of apologetics, just call here. Yeah. It's much faster.
Don't be a coward. Don't lurk in the chat or come into the comments and disagree with us. Come on the phone. Talk to us. We're not mean. We're not gonna cuss you out or anything, belittle you. We're gonna have a good conversation. So come on and put your arguments in on the table here. If you've got a strong argument for your position, we want to hear about it. And so also like and subscribe, please. That really helps us build our channel, build our audience. We appreciate if you subscribe and like. If you can, please support us with Patreon. Those links are all over the chats and on the show notes. And also you can do a super chat. And if I'm better at that than I normally am, I will. And Genevieve, maybe you can help remind me when we see a super chat. Please, we want to acknowledge that on the air and tell you thank you on the air. What's hard, though, is when we're in the middle of a conversation and we're in the middle of something really important, it's hard to interrupt that and acknowledge that super chat. But we do try. So we really appreciate your support and you're following us. And it's just cool. We appreciate every one of you that tune into this show. And it's just been very rewarding to see the the things that we're able to do here and the people that we're able to reach. And I got a message from a lady in Argentina last week that wanted to volunteer her services to do some links, so she could, what do you call them? Not links, but timestamps. Good Lord.
Yes.
Use your words, Dave. Timestamps. So anyway, people in Argentina are watching this. That's mind-blowing sometimes. So, Genevieve, we've got a very special guest on tonight. What do you think about this guest? What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to lie. I've got a bone to pick with this guest because he is taking fashionably late to a new degree that I don't think is appropriate for anybody. Do you understand how many wars have been fought because you just wouldn't show your face? So I'm not going to disparage the guest before they're on. I'm very happy to meet
We're going to give him a chance to, explain himself. I think that's fair.
I think so too.
But folks, who we have on tonight is someone that I spent the better part of my life trying to connect with, and I found it to be quite futile. But here we were able to get him on the show tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our guest, and I'd like everyone to welcome Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Hey, it's the man himself.
I swore I wouldn't come back.
Well,
you crucified me last time.
Well, you still really haven't technically come back, because we don't know if you're just tuning in from heaven or where you are. I mean, to be honest, you've not shown up in Times Square or, somewhere like that where everyone could see you and testify to your reality. So there's that.
That is true.
Yeah. So, JC, what do you go by? What's your favorite? Christ, Emmanuel, Jesus, JC? What do you prefer to be called?
My dad's got a lot of nicknames for me. I think my favorite is Loophole. He calls me his little loophole. So I guess I made it in the studio that I can take off.
Explain that. What do you mean by loophole?
We just burn you alive if it weren't for me. So.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, it still might happen.
Yeah, you never know. He's kind of what's it like to be raised by such a moody dad? I mean, he's kind of all over the board when it comes to his attitudes and his moods. I mean, what's that like, JC?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I got to be honest. Sometimes I'll just hide from him. But he's really taken to the bottle lately too. So that's just been a whole other thing. Yeah, oh man, he got some bad news last night, and he started day drinking this morning. He's out in the car, right? He's passed out.
Gosh.
But yeah, he's just
that's bad.
He starts storms and stuff.
When he drinks, does he relieve his tension by just thrashing infant skulls against rocks? How are you? Blink if you need help.
Are you being held hostage, JC?
Yeah, it feels like it a lot of the time. He gets some of his best ideas when he's drinking. So Donald Trump comes to mind.
Yeah, he was sent by God. I've heard.
He thought it was so funny.
Yeah, how that's been a riot. Yeah, that's just been so much fun.
Yeah.
So we're coming into a busy season for you because you've got to once again save Christmas.
I mean,
the heathens.
Happy birthday!
The heathens are trying to take your name out of Christmas, and they want, you got the whole Starbucks cups. You got to deal with that again.
Yeah.
It must be exhausting trying to save Christmas every year.
I'm a real big fan of Santa. Honestly, it just takes a lot of
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think he's a
lot. Well, why are your people so intent on saying that they have to save Christmas? What's that all about?
They just like to be angry, it seems. Yeah, they're real, they've got a bit of a persecution complex.
Yeah.
It's another reason I'm not coming back. I feel like they'd probably crucify me again,
Okay, now you've said that a couple times. Now you promised to come back. You said, "Lo, I'll come quickly, and I'm coming back soon." What was
I shan't be returning.
Were you were you just lying, Jesus? What's that about?
I just changed my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been watching what's going on, and probably not. No.
That's good because I had thought that maybe you watched the first half of The Notebook and just didn't finish the rest, and that explained why you thought you ended as a good guy. But I won't be too harsh. I can respect that you come from a really, really difficult family, and I can see how that could impact your choices. I won't judge too harshly, unlike your father.
A lot of trauma.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I think it might be good. I don't know. You said God's hanging out. Can we? I don't know. He might not want to talk, but we'd like to kind of chat with your dad a little bit.
I can get him. He might be a little grumpy.
Okay. Well,
I'll grab him. Okay.
Can you see if he's there? Okay. Yeah, we'd like to talk to the big man himself. Not that you're, it's good to have you, but he kind of, he's kind of the big dog, Let's.
Oh, absolutely.
And we both got some questions for him.
Okay. I'll go grab him.
Okay.
It's nice talking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you,
JC. See you, JC. Gosh, that whole bit about him not coming back, that kind of threw me off. What do you think, G?
I just wish, and like I said, I give him so much grace and understanding because I understand he's been through a lot. I mean, who wouldn't be fucked up with a father like that? But I guess I understand, and yet I'm still a little upset that he could have let us know. He could have let us know.
It's a very dysfunctional family, to be honest. You got the Holy Spirit, which no one knows what or who that is, and then you've got the Mother Mary mixed in somehow. This virgin that was never she didn't seem to have a lot of consent, if you know what I mean. So it's really it's kind of a messed up, dysfunctional family, if we're honest.
Yeah. I mean, a call would have been nice. It would have been really cool.
Oh! Wait, is this?
I'm still alive. We're good.
Is this Santa Claus or God? I'm not sure what who
Santa. Whoa! Santa's way too busy this time of year. JC came and got me. Heard you were talking to my little Houdini.
Yeah, your little loophole, you like to call him.
My little loophole.
Well, what do you like to be called? I mean, Yahweh, God. What's your preference?
I prefer the big man. Yeah,
the big man.
Okay. Big man. Yeah.
Big man.
The big man.
Got a real down to earth sound to it. You know what I mean?
You're not compensating for anything, big man.
Nope.
No.
All man here.
You got a big pickup and a little does God even have one of those? I don't even know. Yeah.
I have one of those. Yes,
so
sir.
JC said you were kind of in a bad mood today. What's going on? What are you upset about, God?
Yeah, I got a little upset. Lucifer sent me a bill last night for the heating, and it's just getting out of control. It's I really didn't expect it to be this much work when I diversified my real estate. So it's hard to be his landlord.
You're in charge of the heating in hell?
I am. I am. Yeah.
Well, a lot of Christians like to claim that you don't really have anything to do with that. That's kind of not your domain. That you're only about heaven. So
no. It's like human suffering is my favorite thing. It's that should be really clear at this point. I'm like a big kid with a magnifying glass over an anthill. You know what I mean? It's just we just have a blast up here.
You enjoy it.
Laugh. Yeah. We laugh.
You enjoy that, huh? You're rather sadistic. You know that, right?
I've been called as much. Yeah. I figured out the best way to deal with all of you is really just to convince you that I'm always working, and then you make excuses for me, and then I don't have to work at all. You know what I mean? It's just,
you've got a pretty good gig there, I must say.
It is fantastic. And honestly, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. You know.
Well, there's a lot of people that are disappointed in you. Genevieve and I, chief among them. I spent the better part of my life believing in you, and then I came to realize that you weren't real, and I still don't know if you're real. I don't know who we're talking to here. This is really bizarre.
Man, I can't tell you if I'm real most days, honestly. And I know I didn't leave you a shred of evidence.
You sure didn't.
But if I did, then I wouldn't be able to send as many of you down to Lucifer there. So
yeah, wouldn't get to enjoy that stuff.
It's one of my favorite things, right?
Apparently.
And I mean, really that's your doing. So I hope you don't complain too much
100%.
about that heating bill.
100%.
I will not cast judgment. That's not really my thing. That's yours. But you made everything. You could have just not done that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Just a suggestion from a lowly human peon like myself. But have you considered that you could have not done any of this?
Well, I didn't do anything for a very long time, and then I got bored, so I did some stuff. It kind of just got out of control. I really,
Well, I do have one request before we let you go. I know you're busy. You've got a lot of people. You got a lot of people to inflict pain and suffering on, and
Right.
So I've got this. I hear that you sometimes cure people. I've got this terminal illness called ALS. I guess you created that to cause suffering, and I'm wondering, if I'm really good this year, like Santa wants us to be, can you cure that and take that away? That'd be great.
Yeah, you know what we do up here? We help you find your car keys. Okay, we get you the best spot in the. Those are the type of miracles that I specialize in. No can do. Try Santa though. Try Santa.
You're pretty fucking worthless. I think we're done with you, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just go back to whatever you were doing, and
that is fair.
And we'll see you later.
Okay. Oh, you have a good one. All right.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
Before we get Blaine back on, as we will let everybody know, I think most people realize that wasn't really Jesus and God. But as Blaine is getting back, let's take a call from John, California. Him needs advice from favorite host. That's probably you, Genevieve, on family issues. Has to do with family asking him to go back to church. And we'll have Blaine come back on whenever he's ready. Hey, John, are you there? Hello. Hey, John. How are you doing? You want advice on family issues, you said in the notes. Tell us what's going on.
I cannot hear anyone.
Oh, that's not good.
Can you hear Genevieve?
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Huh.
I think we insulted God too much and he cut our lines.
Could be. Hey, John. Okay, he said he couldn't hear us, so I'm not sure. Oh, John, are you there?
Is this the beeping noise?
He still can't hear us.
Oh, now I can hear you, Dave.
Oh,
there you go. Hey, John.
Hi.
There you go. Now we got you. You said
phone.
Yeah, you bet. Good to talk to you. You're in California. You want advice on family issues. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of background. So I'm a lifelong atheist, just like you, Genevieve. I've never believed. I've been to church services in the past with the family, but I haven't been to church for probably 30 years. So recently, my nephew was baptized. As a matter of fact, it was just this Sunday. And that's actually my great nephew. And my nephew, who was also an atheist, has apparently become a Christian and is asking me to go to services with him. And so I said that I would. I mean, is that the right thing to do? What's your perspective on that? Am I enabling that, or should I just hold my ground and be like, that's great, but, have fun at church?
I mean, I think that depends a lot on your relationship with your nephew, and B, specifically what church he's going to, because there's a big difference between the Episcopalian church that I would go to with my ex-mother-in-law that was like super cool and lovey-dovey, and the pastor was a lesbian with like this beautiful rainbow road and she would play Nirvana. Like, that's very different than the non-denom, all homosexuals are burning in hell, fire and brimstone.
Do you know what kind of church it is, John?
Yeah.
I don't at this time.
Okay.
So,
I think,
but I've been to some good ones where they're knocking you out with the power of Jesus, and this guy slapped me in the head so hard, I was like, no wonder all these elderly people are falling down.
Oh God, yeah, of course. I think that if you want to keep an open dialogue and a good relationship with your nephew, it could maybe be nice to go to church with him and maybe have a conversation about it afterwards. Go to church, listen to the sermon, support your nephew, just show that you're there for him as a person and the decisions that he makes. And then afterwards, take him out to ice cream or lunch and talk about the sermon and talk about his feelings. I think another important question is, how old is your nephew?
He's 40.
Oh, okay.
What do you think is his motivation? Yeah. What do you think is? I mean, you may not know, but what do you think is his motivation for asking you to go to church, knowing that you're an atheist? Or does he know you're an atheist?
He definitely knows. I'm not sure what his motivation is. Maybe probably to try to pull me into the family more.
Here's what I think I would do, John. I would.
Family is. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say that I would ask him that. If one of my family members, knowing I'm an atheist, asked me to go to church with them, I would ask them, why do you want me to go to church with you? And just see what he says, and go from there. If he does admit if he says the quiet things out loud and says, I'm trying to convert you, or to get you to be more like your religious family members, then that's a manipulative approach that I would not personally give into, because I don't see the benefit in that. But as Genevieve said, if you can go with him and have, you might say something like that. I'll go with you on one condition. We have a discussion about what I saw and heard afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I will also say that hearing that your nephew is 40, that does make a bit of a difference. I don't know if taking him out for ice cream is going to be the same sort of instance that I was initially thinking of.
Yeah, I'm thinking, if a 7-year-old says, go to church with me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's important for children to understand that they have a supportive network, even if they disagree. Being that your nephew is an adult, I think it would be good to have that conversation beforehand, just like Dave said. Why do you want me to go to the church with you? I'm open to going, but are you open to discussing the sermon afterwards? Because I'll just speak from my own perspective and of kind of what I do on the internet, on my TikTok, is I never set out with the goal of deconverting people, but it's if you're going to be a Christian, then I don't want you to use bad arguments. So if somebody sends me a video of a sermon where the pastor is deliberately misrepresenting scripture or lying about studies that back up their claims, like, I will call them out. And I think that's really important. And I think that perhaps if your nephew is open to having that discussion with you, where you say, yeah, I will go to church with you and we can talk about it, but I hope you don't mind if we talk really critically about what they said. Just because they are in power in this church doesn't actually mean that they have a line to God. I mean, we had a line to God, and I don't think we're that special.
We just talked to God and Jesus live on the air just a minute ago. Blaine, what do you think?
I think there's also something to be said about the degree of kind of tolerance and inclusivity that it shows if you're willing to go. And like, I think a lot of Christians a lot of times believe that, like, we're trying to just hold our faith back, like it's down there, right? But showing up to church and going like, I don't mind, there's no skin off my back, I can be here, right. These are stories, these are things, and I'll do that for you. And then it kind of I would assume would help put those defenses down to have, a real thoughtful conversation post going. So I don't know, that's my thought.
John, do you think is he wanting you to go like one time just to check it out, or is he kind of asking this to be a regular thing, or what do you know?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I was flabbergasted when he asked me. And then I immediately wrote back and said, sure, I'll go to services with you. And I haven't heard back from him yet. So
I see.
I think I kind of blew him away too by saying that I would go.
Yeah. Well, that's
a great point. That was a really good point. And that's kind of how I was feeling, right? You know, I'm like, here's my family who is, my sister is very, very devout and just Bible thumping. Like I said, she is, I don't even know what her denomination is, but she's also been in Jews for Jesus, and they just seem to go from church to church. Yeah. So I wanted to be open and be like, yeah, it's exactly like Blaine said. It's no skin off my back. I will go to church with you. I may not. I'm gonna be right in the middle with Genevieve, with you and with Dave and Genevieve. I'm gonna go to church. I'm not gonna put a condition on it, but we are definitely gonna have that talk after.
That's good. No, I think that's great. And what I want you to do, John, is after you go and have those conversations with him, call back in to another show and let us know how it went.
Yes, please do.
I'd be very curious. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for all your guys' advice and love the show. I've been listening since the first show.
Oh, that's great, man. Thanks, you, John. Appreciate your support, buddy.
All right.
Take care.
No problem. All right. Have a great day.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And let us welcome Blaine Vogt. Hey, Blaine.
Hello.
AKA Jesus, AKA God. Do you have a Holy Spirit character yet?
I don't, and I'm kind of have this idea where we're going to start like hinting about him, and that Jesus and God are going to be as confused on the whole Holy Spirit thing as everybody else is. I just haven't worked it into any sketches yet, but yeah.
Like I said, I'm not a comedian, but I almost wish that you could like ring in the Holy Spirit, almost like a sex talk between them, where they're both just talking about this thing that's unspoken, and they're both very uncomfortable about it, and they know what they're talking about, but they're not going to say it.
Right.
What is that thing? Well, it's kind of like, yeah.
Nobody knows what the Holy Spirit is. It's just the redheaded stepchild of the Trinity, right? Hey, I want to say thank you to Sarah Dye. Hey, Sarah. We met her in Austin, had a great time with her. She says, Genevieve, I love what you have to say, and that you have 4 dogs. I have 3. Dave, can't wait to hang out with you again. Love you both. Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
That's so sweet.
Thank you so much.
I met Bevan and I met Sarah at the Faithless Forum, and then one night we all went out on the town on the 6th Street, which is the street where everything is. And man, we stayed out way too late, and we drank way too much. But nonetheless, good to see you, Sarah. Thank you. Blaine, I want to get back to a little more of your story in a minute, but right now we've got a call I want us to take. We're going to talk about your music. We're going to talk about your deconstruction, all the things. But we want to talk to Bev. She's got a question for you, Blaine, about your music, and wants to ask Dave about how to make plans with her MS diagnosis. So let's bring Bev, her from South Carolina. She's a regular here. Hey, Bev.
Hi, Dave.
How are you?
Hi, Blaine.
Hi, Bev.
I'm doing okay.
You wanted to ask Blaine about his. Are you not hearing us now? What do we have?
I do now.
Okay, good. I don't know what kind of problems we're having. So you wanted to ask Blaine about his music.
Yeah, curious what's going on, what you're doing with your music, where you're going with that. Really enjoyed that thing you did with Bass, with the, what was it, like an Egyptian song? That was hilarious.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your music?
Yeah, I've been, a professional musician for over 20 years and been in a lot of different groups and things like that. Since COVID, this is the longest I haven't been on stage in my whole life, since I started performing. So I've just been home recording a lot of music. I put out a record last year around, I think, September, called February Songs, because I wrote the whole album in February. And that's online with any major streaming service that you have. So you just put in my name, that album will come up. I have a couple other albums under my name as well.
Great.
And I'm going to be releasing one by Christmas also. So just my name will get you there on any platform. And then the other group that I'm involved with right now is called VV. It's just me and one other guy. It's been a recording project for like 10 years, and we're starting to put out the music. So it's V as in victory /V. So Yeah.
What kind of music is it?
So VV is I would say it's like industrial rock with a lot of pop hooks.
Okay.
With my music, it's it's pop rock for the most part. You know, like there's some hard rock songs, there's some bordering on country songs in there, but like I just, I write kind of the songs that I want to hear. So, yeah.
So I can get that on my Apple Music,
Spotify,
awesome.
YouTube.
I will download that immediately.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. And Bev, what else about Blaine's music did you want to know? Anything else?
Thanks for telling me about that. I listened to your February album on YouTube. It's really good, really good.
Thank you.
Wow.
Some of it has like a grunge sound to it, a bit of like Alice in Chains. A bit. So it was really good, but enjoyed that. But also, while you were Jesus, I was going to ask you how you're getting along with Mary, but since you're not Jesus right now.
She is the peacekeeper. Yeah, Mom really helps get Dad under control. So
yeah. For those of you that don't know, Blaine plays these characters on TikTok. He's got a very creative TikTok channel where he has these conversations between Jesus and God, and it's a very creative way to point out the lunacy, the idiocy of the Christian theology. When you hear these conversations between God and Jesus, and it's just a very creative way to bring home that message that this doesn't make sense, this thing that's going on.
Yeah.
And Bev, you tell me about your MS, multiple sclerosis diagnosis. Is that right? No, you.
Yeah, I have MS. It's just
okay.
I've been. I don't know if you. I guess you called it. It's relaxing and remitting and everything, but it's gotten like a week or so ago. I'm having problems with my mind right now, memory and things like that, speech. And I also started having difficulty with walking, and I had to use a cane. Actually, I used 2 of them, and because that's all I had to use. But I found myself in a position where I was having to depend on people to do a lot of things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was having so much difficulty talking and so much difficulty thinking and articulating what I needed, it was terrifying. And
right.
I've had that fear for quite a while, because you don't really know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I know you understand this, Dave.
Yeah.
And my concern is like I don't want to be in a position where I can't make choices for myself, and other people are doing that for me, because that hasn't gone very well. And
right.
I'm not bad off right now. So I guess my question is just, I don't know how to find information about like you can take an animal that is suffering, and you can have an animal, and it's the kindest thing to do to an animal is euthanasia.
Yeah.
But in our country, you cannot do that, and people go through the most horrible things, and I do not want that. I wouldn't want people to go through that. I don't want that for myself.
Right.
And I don't want people to have to be with me either. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because with a diagnosis like MS, I think that's even harder to
because it's not classified as a terminal disease, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And what I'm talking about is like final solutions, so to speak. But
yeah,
I'm not
I know.
I want to.
Well, here's what I would suggest.
Saying.
I don't. You may have heard me talk about the Final Exit Network. I'm not sure if you have or not. I have many times talked about that, but there's a link to it on my website, and you can reach out. I would go ahead. I would just reach out to them and talk to them. Just have an introductory conversation with them about what your options are, what they do, how they could help someone in your situation. At least you would get the information you need. I know you're in South Carolina,
Right.
so there's not even any laws there that would allow you to have a death with dignity when it came to that, but because you really wouldn't even qualify for it because you don't have a classical terminal illness. But the Final Exit Network works with all kinds of people in all kinds of situations, and they can at least give you some information on what your options are.
Okay, I didn't know that they would do that since I don't have that particular diagnosis. So.
Yeah, they will. They'll talk to you, and they may tell you that your situation doesn't fit into the criterion that we hold for people that we can assist. But I don't know. They don't have the strict parameters of what some of the death with dignity laws are. So that they're a lot more flexible in what they can offer. But at least you would get information on any options that were available to you, because they have a legal team and they have all the pieces in place to help anyone in any situation. But I totally understand the position you're in. You don't want to be taken. It's about control and choice. That's what it's really about. Right. And when we have these debilitating illnesses that take the control away from us, and then we end up in a position where other people are making decisions for us, and we're completely out of control with our own lives, and that's not a comfortable position at all. At least it's not for me.
No, I know. Well, I appreciate that. I got a sexual therapist, and I saw her for the first time today, and I didn't go into that. I mean, it was just basically a meeting type thing. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably be able to talk with her, and that'll be helpful too. But,
good.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say too, Bev. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bev. I feel so much for what you're going through right now, and I completely understand that the death with dignity laws are not nearly as encompassing as they should be, and it's personally very aggravating. I do know that as far as where you are at, the closest place with any laws on the books that might be able to assist you would be Washington, D.C., which is basically right around where I'm at. So if you want to keep in touch and look into some options that might be available to you on the East Coast, just please let me know. I'd be happy to assist in any way, even though it's, hopefully long down the line with you. I hope that you retain a good amount of quality of life while you've got it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you stay in touch.
We all run.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Bev, thank you for being a regular viewer and supporter. We appreciate your support and you hang in there with your MS. I know it's tough. All we can do is the best we can do. And your attitude, every time I've talked to you and I know, I've chatted with you, your attitude is always so positive. So good for you.
Well, you too, Dave.
Thank you.
I enjoyed talking with y'all. It's good to speak with you, Blaine. Never have been able to speak with you before, and I appreciate that. It's
yes,
good talking
it was nice
to you,
speaking with you, Bev.
Genevieve. Why did I say Genevieve?
That's okay.
Good night, Bev.
Thank you, Bev. You take care. Blaine, you're about as elusive as Jesus is, right? So tell us a little bit about your story. I know you used to be a Christian. I don't know what brand you were, how long it's been. Give us the synopsis of your spiritual journey.
Yeah, so I grew up in a household that was non-denominational Christian. We went to a non-denominational church for a while. We went to Episcopalian church. My parents are pretty liberal, but my father really pressed the hell doctrine and the idea. I mean, there was just, he was very strict around certain things, like sexuality was like big no, we don't talk about that. We don't, I couldn't say the word sucks or but, like, I mean, it was like, to this day, if I drop an F-bomb around my dad, which I do freely,
just to poke him,
he'll wince every time.
Oh God.
There was so while it wasn't a lot of like classic doctrine that was banged into me,
right,
it was this idea that there is a God, there is a hell. You be good, you go to heaven. You be bad, you go to hell. Like, I mean, it was just so that a lot of my trauma wrapped up around that stuff didn't come directly from the household, so much as it did from bad actors in the church, some unsavory characters that were running like church choir and things like that. There's some trauma there that I don't really want to dig too far into, but you can use your imagination.
Right.
I learned early on that there was just something not right there. The whole thing never set right with me, but also I didn't think far enough to really question it. Like it was just, okay, there's a God, it's probably Jesus. There's a hell, there's all and I just kind of went with that. And once I left the house at 15 to go play rock and roll music, and
at 15,
yeah,
wow, okay,
started touring. And well, at first I was an Elvis impersonator with a Legend show that toured up and down the West Coast. And then,
of course you were.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So you got used to wigs early on. I get it. Okay.
Well, back then I had the nice coif of hair, but
right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I was started being in my own rock bands, and I was in LA and Seattle, and doing a lot of drugs and all the other things that come with that. And then religion just none of it were questions that I bothered myself with at all.
Right.
From 16 to 26, I just didn't even think about it. Because I was too busy getting loaded and playing music. And then at 26 in 2009, I got sober for the first time because my life was just falling apart. Like it was, I didn't know how to live with alcohol, and I didn't know how to live without it. And I wanted to kill myself. So I went to treatment and I stayed sober for 5 years. And my journey in sobriety post those 5 years has been long periods of time not drinking, and then some hiccups in the road. But that is the first time in 2009 that I started to think about what a higher power is to me. And in 12-step meetings and programs, there's a very large push for that, right? And you come in and they say you can use a doorknob, you can use whatever you want, it just needs to be a higher power. And it's kind of a bait and switch thing, because what they really mean is a higher power that looks like a supernatural interventionalist, personal God that will remove this obsession from you. And it was that juxtaposition at 26 years old that made me really start thinking about what was and wasn't real. Right. I had a big that's where the problem of evil started coming in for me. It was the first time I started asking myself why there'd be some personal God that's going to remove my compulsion to drink, but doesn't care that there's children starving to death.
So at this point, you still identified as a Christian all through this.
If you'd have asked me, I would have said, tacitly that I'm a Christian, because it was the only belief that I had ever held.
Right.
And that morphed over the following couple of years into like, I think there's a God, but probably not a interventionalist personal God. And maybe it's the universe. So I'm a pantheist or I'm a deist, just depending on, I was kind of working my way out of it.
Right.
To the point where I started asking myself, if there's a non-interventionalist God, if there's a God that is not detectable in any way, what's the difference between that and no God? And there wasn't. And so I landed on this idea of agnostic atheism about probably 4.5 years ago was where I found the Atheist Experience. I listened to Matt kind of tackle all those questions, all the arguments that on their face seemed good to me, and I didn't know how to come back at them. And after about a year of listening to the show and reading Sam Harris and Hitchens, and it was really clear to me, so I've been vocally an agnostic atheist for I'd say 3-4 years. Okay. Yeah. And that was the progression for me. My father still very much believes he doesn't want to let go. He and I have gone through many sessions of discussions, and he's just, you know, he wants to see his mom when he dies. And he understands that like the logic isn't in his favor and he doesn't care.
So it's just a warm, fuzzy feeling for him, this idea of an afterlife and something more.
Correct.
I think that's common for lots of folks in that, you know what, I just don't want this to be all there is.
Yeah. And
even though there's no evidence for what I want to be true, I'm going to go ahead and hang on to it. And that blows my mind. I guess it shouldn't blow my mind, but it's frustrating because it's just, they're basically saying, I don't care what's true. I'm going to believe what makes me feel good.
Yeah, and a lot of the arguments they grew up with too. I mean, I think for my dad, like Pascal's wagers, like a really like it really makes sense to him. No matter how many times I'm working it down.
Oh my God!
And he's like, I'm losing nothing. I lose nothing by believing. I lose nothing by believing. And I'm like, okay, you know. And look,
it's the weakest argument out there. Pascal's wager is about as bad as it gets.
I know.
Oh my God!
But with family members that I'm very, very close to, where their faith is not. They don't use it to be bigoted towards other people,
right?
Where it's not effectually harming anyone else. Right. I've learned to kind of just step back. You know, it serves a purpose in my father's life, and I'm done trying to deconvert the man. You know.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, what's the point in keeping things hostile?
Right.
What about your mom in this picture?
Oh, my mom is my favorite. One of my favorite people in the entire world. And she is a consummate enabler and codependent and all these things where like, she's kind of like, you know, when she's sitting around with me, she's an atheist. But you know, whatever gels with the situation. And I don't say that to be disparaging. She's a lovely woman. She likes to not rock the boat, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know what her deeply held beliefs are.
She's what I call, she has chameleon faith.
A little bit.
Yeah. So in your recovery, Blaine, how difficult has it been to deal with that notion of a higher power as an atheist in the years since you've identified as an agnostic atheist and you've been in some recovery since then? Has it been the higher power kind of thing in the treatment centers you've gone to?
Yeah, it has to an extent, but that there's a movement among the recovery community to really continually be growing and more inclusive. Good. And so I've kind of landed on this place where I've been able to work with other men who have the same problem with the higher power thing. And where I landed on a long time ago is my higher power is my best self. It is my higher, you know, my wise mind, right? It is always striving to act within love and empathy and compassion towards others. It is these tangible things that I can point to, right? I can't very well be getting loaded and be putting love and empathy and compassion into the world.
That's true.
When you're an alcoholic of my variety, the only thing that I'm doing when I drink is burning down my life and hurting the people around me. You know, so if I'm always striving to get out of myself and be of service to others, then that's a good enough higher power for me. And that's what I've tried to bring to other men in the program who just can't swallow the personal God thing. And, you know, I'll just kind of end on that by, I know that the real antidote to addiction is connection. And what the meetings do is put addicts and alcoholics in a room together. And that community is very, very helpful to a still struggling addict. And it's been very, very helpful to me. So I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And today I'm secure enough in my own beliefs. I can sit in a 12-step meeting where they throw around the God word as much as they want. And it just doesn't affect me negatively. But so that's been my journey with it. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because it feels like so much of that is almost sort of parallel to what keeps people in religion in the first place, is that everything comes down to community. I think whether you're an addict or you're not, no matter where you are in life, I think that we all as humans strive to have connection and community. And we also strive to be a part of something bigger than ourselves and to be of service to one another. And I can't think of any situation, and maybe this is just being naive, where I have found that to not be true.
No, that's absolutely true.
In that sense, it almost feels like for a lot of people who are dealing with a toxic belief system or a toxic religion, ironically, it's sort of that community and that structure that sort of keeps them addicted to this belief system that they really is not good for them and is making them make choices that they necessarily wouldn't have otherwise.
Yep, right.
I'm just wondering if you've made a similar connection with both your deconstruction from Christianity and your experience going through recovery.
Yeah, I have, and like churches, meetings are the same way. There are very inclusive meetings. There are very forward-thinking meetings, and recovery has become kind of like a hip thing, which is cool. Like young people are really kind of taking it for themselves, and they're growing these 12-step programs and kind of taking the best stuff and leaving the dogma behind. And so, yeah, I've seen the connection, but I it's been real positive in my life. So it's hard to kind of tear down the it's getting people sober, you know?
Yeah.
And I've seen
and that's the main thing. Yeah. That's the end goal. You don't want to lose sight of that when you're quibbling about how they do it. Right. I mean, it'd be better if they told you that, you know what, it's not a higher power helping you do this. You are doing this. You are healing yourself. You are taking control of your life. It's not a higher power leading you by the nose. And so that's the problem we have with that, is it keeps people in the notion that there's a higher power over us, helping us and guiding us and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But the connection, that leads us to this. We've got a call from Evan, him, North Carolina. He's friends with Genevieve. He wants to talk about making friends with other unbelievers, that connection you guys are talking about. Let me bring him on. Hello, Evan, you there?
Hello, I'm here.
Hey,
Evan!
there.
Oh my goodness.
Hey.
Words can't express. Hi, Evan. It's so nice to hear from you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for telling me about the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you called in. In fact, I do have to preface this, Dave, and Blaine, and also kind of segueing into what you're talking about, Evan, is that so Evan, you and I met, what was it, like early 2020, I think. He worked with my partner at a restaurant, and Evan, you were one of the few people who, when I really started going through this real reckoning with the Bible Belt around us, that that one long conversation that we had, you were really my sounding board, where I sort of said, like, oh, I just learned that everybody around me doesn't believe in evolution, and I still remember that one conversation that we had, about a year ago, and it was really, really, really nice to find somebody else in rural North Carolina that I could have this conversation with. So just thank you for calling in, and I'm so happy to hear your voice.
Yeah, happy to hear from you too. That really was wild, because the part of rural North Carolina that you're talking about is, where I'm from. That's where I grew up, and it really made the the transition into becoming an atheist more challenging, and I really couldn't escape that until I physically left. I moved away for college, and even still being in a more secular environment that you get with higher education, you were still one of the first people who I met, and off the bat confident enough to say I am an atheist without hedging at all.
You felt safe to tell her that. Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah. Hey, Bill Castle, thank you for this $10 super sticker. Appreciate your support. Evan, were you a Christian? Were you raised as a Christian?
I sure was. I was raised a Christian, and And it was kind of, through that I kind of stepped away from belief. It was, mid high school, I realized the gravity of what, of like being told that I would go to hell forever if I didn't have all this figured out. And I didn't have it all figured out. So I started taking religion super duper seriously, but found out pretty quick that it didn't really stand up to scrutiny.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you were raised like pretty like fundamentalist evangelical, which is kind of, par for the course for Moore County, North Carolina. I still remember when we first had that conversation, it almost felt like there was like a decent amount of weight coming off of your chest, because you're right. This is not something that people talk about. As a lifelong atheist, I never really understood that there was this big taboo around making fun of Christianity or of God beliefs or of just being an outspoken atheist. And I feel like one of the things that really made me realize how important this was to people was just kind of seeing how novel this was for you. Yeah, it's a weird town. I'm glad that you've left the county. I'm really happy for you, Evan.
Hey, Evan,
too.
Yeah, you said you create a social network of like-minded individuals, of other non-believers. How has that been for you? Tell us about that.
Well, it did kind of start with some of the people in that restaurant that Genevieve touched on, as well as a handful of other people I grew up with in Moore County who had a kind of similar deconversion story happening in parallel to mine, and just being able to have those people in my life and have those conversations with about how, oh, isn't that weird what we used to believe, and all that, especially one friend I have who actually used to go to church with me is now also a non-believer, and we talk all the time about how kind of liberating it is to get away from that, and how important both physically and socially removing yourself from that environment has been.
Yeah, Blaine, have you found, what has been your experience in connecting with like-minded individuals in terms of your atheism and agnosticism?
So I really lucked into finding a community when TikTok kind of just blew up for me, to an extent. I've made a lot of connections that I just never even fathomed. I wasn't even looking for a community. I was just kind of a, ugly duckling out here. Like, I was by myself. I've got a couple of friends that feel very similar to me. I have a friend that grew up very strict Catholic that is now an atheist. And, I had a small circle. My wife is an atheist. We're raising our kids secular. So I've got my family, but until TikTok, I really didn't have a broader, circle of atheists, and it's really nice. It's really nice. I don't even get on other social media anymore because hey, look, I got a platform of 30,000 people that do like what I say. So, for the most part, I don't have to argue with people. Anyways, it's been great.
So TikTok has been your primary source of connection in terms of like-minded people
with other atheists. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, I remember, to your point, that Evan, you're talking about. By the way, John Fabiano, thank you so much for your support, your super sticker, and for the call tonight. It was a great call. I remember when I deconstructed my faith, it was about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And I didn't have anybody to connect with, and TikTok wasn't a thing then. If it was, I didn't even know about it. And, so I found some people through Facebook groups and things like that. It was a challenge though to find community. I'm personally I like the online community that I've found, but I'm more of a meet in person, hug your neck kind of person. And I've been able to find that both in Nashville, where I'm from, and Charlotte, where I am now. It's just so valuable to me too. And a lot of those people I've met in person after I knew them virtually, so that's always a fun thing to do too. But the need for community is, I think, inherent in almost all of us. And when you come out of that church culture, it can be daunting to find someone that kind of understands you. And it sounds like, Evan, you and Genevieve having that conversation was pivotal for both of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say just, quickly for myself, Evan, like, obviously I don't come from a Christian background. For me, I never thought about my atheism. It was just, I didn't know anybody that went to church or really believed in God. It wasn't really a big part of the culture around me growing up. And of course, moving to Moore County, North Carolina, that shifted really quickly. I met devout Christians and I asked what denomination they were a part of. And they didn't know that other denominations existed. They said, "What do you mean? I'm a Christian." I was like, "Well, yeah, like, okay, you're Protestant, but are you Lutheran? Are you Baptist? Are you non-denominational? Are you Episcopalian?" And she was like, "I had no idea none of these existed. I just love Jesus." And
oh God.
yeah, and that's a genuine conversation I had with somebody. And I want to say too, I was so happy, Evan, when you and I met, because it was shortly after I really started diving deep into this, because I learned that people that were very close to me didn't just like believe in a God, which I'm like, yeah, that seems pretty normal, but they didn't believe that the earth is as old as it is. They didn't believe that evolution is true. And this was right when the pandemic was starting to happen. And so if you don't trust scientists about the earth being old or humans and everything evolving, then why the fuck would you care about masks or trust them about anything?
That's right.
And so, Evan, when we met, it was really funny. There was a bit of, naivete on my end, because I was reading every Bart Ehrman book I could find. I was watching all of the videos and debates and really getting to biblical history. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm learning about the Bible. I can talk to my Christian friends about this. And no. They don't want to hear any of that. They don't want to hear anything that I was learning. And
oh, you naive child. You naive child, you.
I'm an idiot. I was like, well, oh my gosh, they would love to hear about half of Paul's epistles are not authentic to Paul. And did you know that Mark was written in 60 AD and was clearly not by an eyewitness? No, I thought I was having good Christian conversation. I also referred to it as Christian mythology, which, side note, they also don't like.
They don't like that. Oops.
Legitimately, Evan, when you came over to our house that one night, that was the first time that I got to really get all of this off of my chest with somebody who didn't just like balk and get offended and disgusted. And so even though my atheism has never meant much of anything to me until recently, I can understand the value that you find in finding a community, because like you were my community, and I'm so glad you called in.
Yes.
Yeah, I could tell you were very excited.
Really excited. I was going up just like this.
Kevin Durham, we see your super chat there. Thank you, my friend. Go ahead, John. Evan, sorry.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, especially in that community, somebody used the word taboo, and that really is how it is there. Like it's the idea that Christianity may be even like flawed, let alone not true, is just something that doesn't get talked about. So yeah, having somebody to have that conversation with was really important for me. And I'm sure is important to a lot of people who grow up in similar environments and end up walking away from religion.
Evan, how has your walking away from your childhood faith, how has that affected your family relationships and friends and so on?
There have been some not so fun conversations with both my parents, and it does put a bit of a strain on that relationship with my family.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel lucky that I have been able to find a lot of friends who have, at the very least, are able to, be tolerant. I still have a fine relationship with my family.
Good.
Even if we don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues.
Well, Blaine, you've been able to navigate that challenge as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean,
with your dad.
I got a real good lesson in general over the last several years of just the level of cognitive dissonance and what that is capable of doing to someone's mind. And as I've become a better skeptic, as I've challenged my own epistemology and grown it, I understand a lost cause when there's a lost cause. I think, I mean, it's because it's not just about religion. Like in the last 5 years, arguing with facts about politics or science or any of those things, like you understand when you're up against a brick wall. So what it's taught me to do is be more tolerant and more patient and I try my best to never let it get my goat, because the more I'm patient and tolerant, the better chance I have at actually reaching someone on any end. And as like I said earlier, as long as their beliefs aren't leading them into doing harmful things to others, voting against the best interests of LGBTQ or whatever it is, I'm fine. If your belief system stays as far as it's not hurting anyone else, I'm good with that. Otherwise, maybe those people aren't in my life anymore. So
that's good. Mario, thank you for your support, my friend Mario Zambrano. Any other thoughts, Evan? Good for you to call, man. I'm glad you obviously, Genevieve got excited when she saw you on the call. That's for sure.
I'm so happy you called, Evan. So happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy to talk to you as well, Genevieve. It's been too long. But
way too long. Yeah.
I don't think I have for sure. I don't think I have really much else to say for now. I'll probably be calling back in the future, but
call in anytime with any question. We have all the answers. So call with any question you have, and we will. If we don't have the answer, we'll get God and Jesus on the line, and I'm sure they will.
It's true. We're tight. Awesome. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, Evan.
Talk to you soon. Bye, bud.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
And Truck Fump is a super sticker for $5. Thank you so much for that. Great handle, by the way.
Amazing.
So Blaine, talk to us about this, your TikTok and how you got into doing that particular, your approach on TikTok. It's so good.
I have 3 children who are now 8, 11, and 13. And, they had the app and I didn't know anything about it. And so I downloaded it mainly so I could see what they were doing on there. and I thought, well, I'm a musician. Maybe I can do something on there with that. I don't know. So I posted a few videos, nothing happened. But then as I'm scrolling, I see that people are doing these really simple things. Like they're taking memes and they're just acting them out. And one of my favorite memes ever is Jesus at the door going, let me in. And Why? So I can save you. Save me from what? For what I'm going to do to you if you don't let me in. And so my wife had, a wig lying around because reasons, and I put on this wig, which was really long. It had like an ombre, but it was like, it worked. I had a beard, and I took this red blanket over my head, and I acted out the skit. And for me, I think I had like 20 followers. I posted it. It got like 100,000 views. And then all of a sudden overnight, I had like 500 followers. Right. And so I saw that this resonated.
All right.
And I'm like, well, so the next video I did was like Jesus drowning me in a bathtub and saying, say you love me. And then he pulled me out. I saw that. I love you. Say you love me. Okay, I love you. I saved you from drowning. And those first 2 videos blew up over 100,000 views. And so I was like, well, this is easy. This is a well that just will never go dry because there's so many things you can do. And so I wasn't looking to really even do a TikTok thing. And then it was there. And so I just, I bought some costumes and I kept running with it. And that's a little over a year ago, I think now. And it's been a lot of fun. And what's really cool about it is because of the way I have chosen to run my platform, I don't spend all day arguing with theists. I don't enjoy it. Arguing with people who have, unfalsifiable presuppositional claims all the time doesn't look like fun to me. That's other atheist creators' deal. Yeah. Whatever. I'm there to have fun and point out the ludicrous nature of the whole thing in a way that honestly, even Christians, I have a lot of Christians that follow me, can stomach. So, and also I'm not on my 10th account, right? I've never been banned because it's not wholly disagreeable. So, yeah.
Have you had some Christians, comments from Christians that are they laughing along? Are you hearing from some of them that you've helped to see, wait a minute, maybe this doesn't make sense?
Yes. So I've got the spectrum. I've got people who have actually deconstructed as they've started watching the videos.
Wow.
And literally attributed that to me. And I've got people I've got the normal trolls, right? But I'm just very liberal with the block button. I'm just like, you're gone.
Me too.
So it's been kind of across the board, but yeah, I've heard a lot of people that are just like, every time I start, they're already deconstructing maybe, and they go, every time I start slipping back into wanting to go back into my faith, like one of your "Hey Dad" skits will pop up and go,
"Hey Dad,"
and I'll go, "Oh my gosh!" Like, okay, all right, I'm okay, So it's been really cool. The only real heated stuff I've gotten is if I ever tread into Islam at all. And then it's like straight death threats immediately. And that's the stuff where I have to be like, okay, well, we're just using that block button. And and I don't speak on it much anyways, because I don't know enough I'm not an authority on that. I didn't grow up in it. And so I have a lot of sour Christians that you're always making fun of Christianity. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the religion that's doing the most toxic harm in my country. And it's the religion that has caused me the most grief. So that's where I stay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of the lane I try to stay in, the evangelical lane. When I talk about the objections to Christianity that I have, I pretty much try to make sure I'm talking about evangelicalism, fundamentalism. That's the water I swam in. The more liberal, benign forms of religion, I don't really go after that too much. Although that said, I have seen the danger in that, in that if you allow yourself to believe things that aren't true or that don't have evidence, even though it's not really hurting people, it conditions you to believe things without evidence so that you can fall prey to things like Trump or vaccines or things that can indeed do great damage. So I think it's important that we continue to speak out and speak up about the issue of, let's believe as many true things as we can. Like Matt likes to say, I want to believe as many true things as I can, and as few
wrong things.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does affect how we view the world and how we think.
Oh yeah, I used to be a huge conspiracy buff. I mean, my skeptical, my evolution as a skeptic and my kind of journey on building a better epistemology took work. It took I had to choose to better my critical thinking. And a lot of people just aren't interested in that at all, right? It's not even a concept.
Oh yeah.
It just, why? I'm good. I got my, so. But you're right. It's a hill to die on. People, more critical thinkers is a good thing.
Yeah,
for society.
This is something that I talk about quite a lot about the dangers of believing in things that aren't necessarily true, and how that does sort of open you up to all of these other beliefs. Because, like I said, look at where we are with the pandemic. It's amazing. I wonder how many people would be vaccinated if we didn't have people predisposed to not believe in science-based evidence because of the Bible and Fox News and what have you. I still, I do have some issue too with atheists who sort of blanket, who blanketly state, oh, all religion is bad, because I do think it's worthwhile to point out that ethno-religions exist, and 60% of Jewish people who practice Jewish customs are also atheists or agnostics.
Right.
And I do think that it's also important in the atheist community that we acknowledge that there is sort of this gray area of religion and culture to where we can't be very, dogmatic in our own front. And that's not saying that either of you are doing that. I feel like every time I have a Christian come at me and ask, oh, why aren't you talking about Islam? It's well, because in my circumstance in America, where we are faced with so much Christian nationalism and Islamophobia, I am not worried about Islam encroaching upon my rights. In fact, I am worried about you guys going and terrorizing the Muslims at the mosque down the road because you guys are Christian nationalists. So, it's such a quagmire. I think there is so much intersectionality between, fighting against bigotry and also grappling with a secularist reality where religion is very toxic. It's not cut and dry for anybody.
Yeah.
And that said, if I grew up in the Middle East and I was living somewhere where Sharia law was being, then I would be advocating against that.
Exactly.
And there are creators who did grow up with in Islam that are doing that. They're speaking out. And that is their lane, and that's leave it to them. That's they should be,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Apostate Aladdin and Infidel Noodle. I mean, it's crazy. The ex-Muslim atheist content creators have to deal with so much more than any of us ever have, as far as hate and death threats and bans. It's terrifying, and I'm super proud of them for speaking out. That is 100% their lane.
So I see in the chat some people I think someone posted your TikTok handle. What is that, Blaine? How do we find you on TikTok?
It is at I Blame Myself. I blame myself.
What do you blame yourself for, Blaine? Let's talk about that.
Oh man, everything. Personal responsibility is very important to me. I don't have a God to throw it off on, or Satan either.
Or
right?
Satan, yeah.
Oh man, the devil just
no scapegoats.
The devil made me do it. No. When I screw up today, I have to try and fix that wrong by myself. To the best of my ability.
That's the beauty I found in deconversion, spending years with the idea that God had my back, or that God would lead me and guide me, or that when I did something wrong, all I had to do was pray and repent, and the blood of Jesus would cover it. And it leads you into this place of not being accountable for your own actions. And that's not healthy ever.
Yeah, I read a quote by Keira Knightley the other day where she said, I wish I was a Christian. I could just do anything I wanted and then just ask forgiveness and it would be done.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could fall in love with her more.
Oh, really? Where was she? Who was interviewing her?
I don't know. I did find it on several sources, so I know she said it. But I was doing this atheist quote of the day shtick for a while, and then TikTok.
I love that series.
Thank you. TikTok does not. The app, they just won't show it to anybody. So
really?
So yeah, I stopped doing that.
If you TikTok pros can help me understand how some videos we make get 10,000 views and how some of them get 500. I can't figure it out. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but anyway.
A lot of it's dumb luck. The shorter, so the algorithm has more to do than anything else about view time. So the shorter the video, good shot. And the more engaging the video is, you want people watching all the way through. Other than that, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered.
I also notice if I get a couple real big videos, then I'm going to be suppressed a little bit after that.
Yeah,
they're gonna keep you in your place, motherfucker.
That's right.
So also in the chat room, I see people asking what your shirt is, Blaine. What you got there?
It says "Not Today, Jesus." And it's got.
I love it.
A real fun Baphomet there.
Do you wear that out in public? Are you in a small town? You're out west somewhere, right?
I'm not. Yeah, Salem's the capital of Oregon, so it's not a small town. It's not as big as Portland, but it's a fair city. I wear whatever I want out. You know,
Good for you.
I don't care.
Yeah. So it's pretty liberal out there, right?
It is, but I've got Baphomet tattooed on my neck, and I've got. I mean, like it's. It's I came to a place. I think I'm at the point in my life finally where it's like I just don't give a fuck. Like I'm gonna do me, you know. I'm gonna do me.
That's good. Now, if you wear an atheist shirt in small town Tennessee or North Carolina into Walmart, you'll have some people glaring at you. I mean, maybe even they'll say, "What?" You know, they'll walk. You'll hear when you walk by, and they'll go.
The only thing I don't generally do, at least on TikTok, is talk about like I'm a card-carrying member of the Satanic Temple. Like I am also a non-theistic Satanist. It's just not. I don't want to spend all of my content having to explain what that means.
Right.
You know. So, but in my own life, I love the imagery. I love all that. Like it's.
Well, I wear my Dying Out Loud swag out all the time with different images that we have in our store, our t-shirt. We have a lot of different kind of t-shirts, and they all have, you know. So people will ask, "What's that about?" And so it'll stir some conversations for sure. And it's funny though, because sometimes I'm in the mood for a conversation, and sometimes I just want you to leave me the fuck alone. Yeah. So you know, it can backfire on me.
I'm a very personable guy, and you recognize that on TikTok. But if you just look at me, like I'm tatted up, like I've got a bit of like a resting dick face. So like people don't generally approach me unless I want them to.
I don't think so. And maybe it's because most of the people that I know are musicians that are tatted and pierced all the way up. I swear you've got one of the kindest face. You're just like a sweet teddy bear. I can't not want to give you a hug every time I see you.
Thank you very much.
I agree with that, Genevieve. I think Blaine, you've got it just comes through, especially, I mean, the Jesus God videos, they're funny. I mean, uproariously funny. But I love the one when you were trying to figure out what God was upset about. I showed it to several people, and they just said, you know, are you upset about this? Are you upset about that? Are you mad about The Office not doing a reunion? No. What is it then? People won't stop touching themselves.
I do have one quick story, because I know that the first caller mentioned your song that you did with Baphomet. Argue Like a Christian. I was taking a break from work, and Baff had sent that to me, and I was watching it on repeat. And my mom walked in, and she started laughing, and she was like, "Oh, what is that?" And I showed it to her, and this sort of segued into a conversation where I was like, "Oh, Mom, have you ever heard The Loophole from Garfunkel and Oates?"
Oh, boy.
And so she loved your song, and we ended up listening to The Loophole after that. And it's very uncomfortable singing "Fuck Me in the Ass Because I Live Jesus" to your mother, but it was a really nice bonding experience, and I don't think it would have happened if it weren't for you and Bath. So thank you.
Oh my God.
She loved all of it.
I love that you did that with your mother, Genevieve. That's pretty awesome. Well, Blaine, we've got a couple of minutes left here. I do think we've got a call trying to come in, but the screeners haven't let it go yet. It'll have to be a quick one if we do take it. But we always try to cut off right at the 8:30 mark Eastern time. Ethan has another show, I think, that Ethan's our producer and does wonderful work. What do you want, Blaine? What do you want our viewers to know about you?
I want us, and this sounds really trite, I want to be able to open a dialogue where everyone's not just screaming. That's what I found is the most rewarding thing every day that I create content for TikTok, that I'm in these conversations. There is a way to reach people, and it is not by being arrogant and by being forceful. At least from where I stand, that's not my tack. That's not my take. And like you've talked about the whole show, healthy skepticism, critical thinking, teaching people to not believe things just on face value, but actually have evidence for them is extremely important to the betterment of society. And that's what I hope I'm doing. That's it. I mean, that's a great.
Yeah, that's an awesome answer to that question, because that's the thing I think we have to do better at as atheists. Those of us that are content creators or having these public conversations with theists, we have to be better at dialing down the volume so that we can hear each other. We have an evangelical Christian coming on the show next week, which I'm really excited about. But I'm really interested in us having a really respectful conversation where we hear each other and not talk over each other. I think it's so often we just talk over each other, and so we got to do a better job of that as atheists and agnostic atheists. Real quick, I'm going to take this call because he has a specific. But we're going to run out of time. But it's Joe, him from Texas. Hey, Joe, I see you want to talk about the final exit.
Right.
Hey, could I get you to send me? We just have about 2 minutes left, so really don't have enough time to go into it. But I didn't want to ignore your call. So if you could email me at daveoutloud@gmail.com, can you do that? Or you can find it on my website, daveoutloud@gmail.com.
Okay.
I think in the chat rooms we could put that up if you could in the chat room, someone, and then I can give you more information than I'd be able to do with the little time we have left. Is that okay? Okay. I'll be happy to chat with you at length about it. Okay, Joe. Thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All righty.
It's a Dave at Gmail.
Yep.
daveoutloud@gmail.com. Right.
Yep. Joe, I went ahead and I put it in the chat for you. So if you go to the live stream chat, you'll find it there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for calling, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I couldn't do that justice in a couple of minutes. So, but anyway, Blaine, Genevieve said it well. You got the kind face. You come through in your videos on TikTok. That's how we met you, and I just love what you're doing. I love your approach. I think you're just adding a lot to the conversation. I'm really glad you got involved in it, and I'm proud of you for your recovery, if I could say that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
100%.
And I've seen in the chat, people are thankful that we're talking about secular recovery because it is so riddled with the God talk, and it's something we need to talk more about.
Yep.
So we're going to keep bringing that up to the table, and thank you for your willingness to address it in a personal level like you did today.
Absolutely. And I'll just plug that there is secular AA meetings out there. So check your area for that. There's also Refuge Recovery, which is more Eastern philosophy based. So there's things, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, thank you for coming on. We'll have to do it again sometime. Genevieve, good to see you as always.
Back at you.
And folks, that's our show for tonight.
Thanks, guys.